I want you to picture two Americans, same neighborhood, same jobs, same salaries, their entire working lives. One retires at 65 and spends their mornings checking if they can afford the electric bill, skipping doctor visits because the copay feels too heavy, watching their savings shrink a little every single month with no way to stop it. The other retires at 62, takes their grandchildren to Disney World every summer, helps their kids with a down payment on a house, sleeps without the low-grade financial anxiety that follows most Americans into their final years. Same income, same opportunities, completely different retirements. And here's the truth that most people never find out. The difference between those two Americans almost never came down to luck. It never came down to inheritance. It never came down to picking the right stock at the right time. It came down to 5 specific signs, 5 specific habits and decisions, made quietly in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, that most people either never learn or never take seriously until it is too late. Today, I'm going to walk you through all 5. Be honest with yourself as we go through each one, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly which retirement you are heading toward, and exactly what to do if you need to change course. Before we get into it, subscribe to Cash Cowboy and turn on the bell right now. Every week, I cover the financial facts most Americans never find out until the damage is already done. Subscribe so you never miss it. Let's get into the 5 signs. Sign 1, you actually know your numbers. This is the sign that sounds almost too simple to matter, but it separates wealthy retirees from struggling ones more than any other single thing on this list. You know your numbers, not vaguely, not, I've got some money in a 401k somewhere. You know your exact 401k balance. You know your monthly expenses down to the dollar. You know what Social Security will pay you and when. And you know the specific number you need to retire the way you actually want to live. Here's what should wake you up right now. Americans believe they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 study. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is just $185,000, according to Federal Reserve data. That gap between $185,000 and $1,460,000 is not a small problem. It is a retirement crisis. And the dangerous part is that most Americans do not realize how far behind they are until they are 5 years from retirement, and by then, the math simply does not work in their favor anymore. The wealthy retiree saw that gap years earlier. They logged into their accounts regularly. They tracked their progress. They knew exactly where they stood and adjusted before it was too late. If you can name your 401k balance within a few $1,000s right now, your monthly expenses, and your target retirement number, you are already ahead of the majority of Americans. Knowing your numbers is where every wealthy retirement begins. Sign 2, you started early and never stopped. Let me show you the most powerful force in American personal finance with one simple comparison. An American who starts investing $300 a month at age 25 and never stops will have approximately $1 million by age 65 at a 7% average annual return. An American who waits until age 35 to start the exact same $300 a month will have approximately $500,000 by age 65. Same amount, same return, 10 years difference. The gap is $500,000. $500,000 gone, simply because time was not on their side. Here's what makes this even more powerful. That extra $300 a month invested from age 25 to 35, just 10 years of early contributions, generates more wealth than the next 30 years of identical contributions combined. That is how compound interest works. It rewards the people who start early with a force so powerful that catching up later becomes nearly impossible. The wealthy retiree understood this in their 20s and 30s. They started contributing to their 401k or IRA the moment they had their first real job. They never stopped, not during market crashes, not during rough financial patches, not when it felt pointless because the balance was still small. They just kept going, month after month, year after year, and time did the rest. The second sign you will retire rich is that you started early, and you have never stopped, regardless of what the market did, or how life got in the way. Sign 3, You live below your means without it feeling like punishment. This is the sign most people resist the most, because it sounds like sacrifice. It is not sacrifice, it is strategy. Here is what actually happens to most Americans over a 30-year career. Every time their income goes up, their lifestyle goes up with it. Bigger house, newer car, more expensive vacations, better restaurants. The paycheck grows, and every dollar of growth gets immediately absorbed into a more expensive version of the same life. By the time they retire, they have earned a lot of money and spent almost all of it. The wealthy retiree does something different. They lock in a lifestyle they can genuinely afford early, and then let their income grow past it for the rest of their working life. When they get a raise, instead of upgrading the car, they upgrade their investment contributions. Instead of moving to a bigger mortgage, they pay down the one they already have faster. Here is what that discipline actually means in real dollars. If you earn $70,000 today and receive a 3% raise every year, you will earn over $150,000 in additional income across the next 20 years. Most Americans will absorb every single dollar of that into a more expensive lifestyle without even noticing it happening. The wealthy retiree diverts a significant portion of every raise directly into their 401k or investment accounts. And by 60, they are sitting on a portfolio that their younger self would have called impossible. The third sign you will retire rich is that your lifestyle has never fully caught up with your income. Every time you earned more, you save more first. Sign 4. You own things that grow while you sleep. Here is a pattern that plays out in millions of American households. Someone works 40 years, earns well over $1 million across their career, and ends up with a paid-off house, which is great, a car that is worth a fraction of what they paid for it, and not much else. The wealthy retiree owns assets that grow in value while they are not thinking about them. Stocks, index funds, ETFs, investment properties, a diversified 401k portfolio weighted toward growth assets while they are still young enough to ride out the market dips. Here's a number that puts this in perspective. $60,000 invested in a broad market index fund based on the S&P 500's historical average return has the potential to double roughly every 7 to 10 years. That same $60,000 spent on a brand new car loses approximately 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot, and continues declining every single year after that. You do not have to be a stock picker. You do not have to be a real estate mogul. You do not have to be a financial genius. You just have to make sure that every year, more of your money is sitting in things that go up, and less is sitting in things that go down. The fourth sign you will retire rich is that you have been quietly building a portfolio of appreciating assets for years. And that portfolio is growing right now, whether you are working or not. Sign 5, you think in decades, not paychecks. This last sign is the one that ties everything else together, and it is the one that is hardest to teach, because it is not a strategy or a number or a specific account type. It is a mindset. The American who retires struggling spent their working years thinking about Friday, the next paycheck, the next vacation, the next thing they wanted to buy. The American who retires rich spent those same years thinking about where they would be at 60, at 70, at 80. They made decisions today based on how those decisions would feel 20 years from now. They started their retirement contributions early because they could see their future self clearly enough to sacrifice for them. They bought their first investment in their 30s instead of waiting for the perfect moment that never came. They also did something most people forget entirely. They protected their downside. They kept an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses so that one bad year could not undo 20 good ones. They kept basic insurance in place. They made sure a single financial disaster, a job loss, a medical emergency, a market crash, could not permanently derail everything they had built. Nearly 3 in 4 Americans with a financial advisor believe they will be financially prepared for retirement, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 study, compared to only 43% of Americans without one. The wealthy retiree did not figure this out alone. They built a plan. They found professional guidance, and they executed that plan consistently across decades, through good markets and bad, through life changes and setbacks, never losing sight of where they were going. The fifth sign you will retire rich is that you have always thought in decades. And every financial decision you make today, you run it through the filter of how it will feel when you are 70. Let me bring it all together. 5 signs you will retire rich in America. You know your exact numbers, your balance, your expenses, and your retirement target. You started investing early and never stopped, letting compound interest build the wealth your income alone never could. You live below your means, not as punishment, but as strategy, saving more every time you earn more. You own appreciating assets, things that grow while you sleep, instead of things that lose value the moment you buy them. And you think in decades, protecting your downside, building a plan, and making every financial decision with your future self in mind. Here's the truth I want to leave you with. Wealth in retirement is not built in the last 5 years before you stop working. It is built in the 30 years before that, in 1,000 small decisions that nobody around you notices at the time. The Americans who retire rich are not lucky. They are not special. They simply made those 1,000 small decisions differently. Now you know what those decisions look like. Subscribe so you never miss the next video. Share this with someone who needs to hear it before it is too late for them to act on it. I will see you in the next one.